You don't know me, but your wife's been planning to ruin you, since before she even married you. That's what the men said. I had just taken the first sip of my morning coffee when he leaned in close and whispered those words. At first, I thought I'd misheard. Or maybe it was some kind of sick joke. But he didn't blink. He didn't smile. He just stood there, looking at me like he'd just handed me a ticking time bomb. I remember my fingers tightening around the paper cup. The heat seared my palm, but I didn't feel it. I just stared at him. "Excuse me?" I asked, half laughing, trying to figure out who this guy was. He didn't give me a name. Just looked around the cafe, then back at me. "She's not who you think she is," he said quietly. "She and the guy she's sleeping with, they've been planning this since before the wedding. You were just the mark." That was Tuesday morning. 3 days ago. And nothing has felt real since. Let me rewind. My name's Daniel Briggs. 41. I own a chain of auto dealerships across the Midwest, nothing fancy, but enough to live comfortably and provide for my family. I built it from the ground up. My parents worked dead-end jobs, barely scraped by. My dad used to come home with grease-stained hands and a bad temper. I swore I'd never live like that. So, I started working at a junkyard when I was 15. Saved every penny. By 24, I'd flipped enough used cars to open my first lot. That's when the money started coming in. And that's when I met her. Samantha. She walked into my life like she owned the world. Blonde, confident, the kind of woman who turns heads just by breathing. I met her at a fundraiser. She was working PR for a charity event I sponsored. We dated fast. Married even faster. Everyone told me to slow down. But when you've been poor your whole life and someone finally sees you, not the broke kid, not the grease monkey, but the man you've become, it's intoxicating. I thought she loved me. God, I needed to believe she loved me. We've been married 6 years. We have a daughter, Lily. She just turned 4. I thought we were happy. But now this stranger shows up out of nowhere and tells me my entire marriage is a lie. After the men left the cafe, I sat in my car for almost an hour. I didn't even start the engine. Just stared out the windshield, replaying what he'd said. She's not who you think she is. They've been planning this since before the wedding. You were just the mark. I didn't believe him at first. I mean, how could I? I love my wife. She's the mother of my child. She knows every scar on my body, every weakness I've ever had. And I've never caught her lying. Never, not once. But something about the way he said it, it got under my skin. That night, I couldn't sleep. I watched her as she lay beside me, her back turned, breathing slow and even. And then I started remembering things. Little things. Like how she didn't want a prenup. She said it was unromantic, and that we should trust each other. I figured she was right, I mean, love is trust, right? Or how she pushed me to give her partial control of the business, just in case anything ever happened to me. And how, a few months ago, she suddenly hired a private accountant, said she wanted independent financial advice for her side of the family investments. It all seemed harmless at the time. Now it felt like warning signs I ignored. The next morning, I went back to the cafe, hoping to find the man again. I even asked the barista if she'd seen him before. She said no, never. I described him, late 30s, dark hair, sharp jawline, wore a gray hoodie and jeans. Nothing. He'd vanished. But he'd left a crack in my world, and everything I believed started leaking out. That night, I did something I'm not proud of. I checked Samantha's phone. She was in the shower. I felt sick doing it, but I had to know. At first, it was all normal, group chats with other moms, grocery lists, appointment reminders. Then I found a hidden folder in her photo gallery. Password protected. I'd never seen that before. I didn't have the code. I don't know what scared me more, that I found it, or that I suddenly needed to see what was inside. The next day, I sat down with my friend Mark, he's my oldest friend and also my lawyer. I didn't tell him everything. Just that I was worried about my business. That someone might be trying to undermine me. He gave me a look, half confused, half cautious. "Is this about Samantha?" he asked slowly. My heart stopped. "Why would you say that?" He hesitated. "I don't want to get in the middle of anything personal, Dan. But, just be careful who you trust." That was all he said. But it said everything. That night, I couldn't pretend anymore. Samantha came into the living room around 10, wearing that old college sweatshirt she likes. She smiled, sat beside me, and rested her head on my shoulder like nothing was wrong. And I almost believed it was all in my head. Almost. Until I asked her casually, "Hey, did you ever go to the Grounded Bean Cafe downtown?" She tensed, just a flicker, but I felt it. "No," she said quickly. "Why?" I shrugged. "I've just been going there lately. Thought maybe I saw someone you knew." She laughed. Forced. "Nope. Must be mistaken." That was when I knew. I didn't sleep at all that night. I kept thinking about Lily. My little girl. Her laugh. Her tiny hands always reaching for mine. Whatever was happening, I couldn't let it touch her. I had to protect her, no matter what. Even if that meant destroying the only life I'd ever known. This morning, Friday, I went back to the cafe one last time. Not expecting anything. Just needing something, anything, to help me make sense of this. I sat at my usual table. Ordered the same coffee. And as I was getting ready to leave, a barista slipped me a folded napkin. "There was a guy here yesterday," she said. "Told me to give this to you if you came back." My hands shook as I opened it. It was a phone number. And one line of text. "I have proof. But you have to be sure you want it." I stared at that napkin like it was radioactive. The number. The message. "I have proof. But you have to be sure you want it." My first instinct was to throw it away. I could pretend this was all just some elaborate misunderstanding. A mistake. A coincidence. But I didn't. Instead, I walked to my car, locked the doors, and sat in silence for a good 5 minutes, just me, the napkin, and the question echoing in my head. Did I want the truth? Because once I opened that door, there was no closing it. I dialed the number. It rang once. Twice. Then a voice I recognized came on the line. "I was wondering if you'd call." The same calm voice from the cafe. That man again. "Who the hell are you?" I asked, trying to sound steady. He didn't answer right away. I heard the faint hum of traffic in the background. Then he said, "I can't tell you everything over the phone. But if you want to see the truth for yourself, meet me. Today. 2 p.m. Madison and 6th, bring no one. Come alone." He hung up. I should have gone to the police. Or at least told someone, Mark, maybe. But a part of me didn't trust anyone right now. I felt like I was standing on quicksand, and every move I made just pulled me deeper. By 1:55, I was parked a block away from Madison and 6th, heart pounding like I was walking into a trap. I spotted him leaning against a lamppost, wearing the same gray hoodie. He didn't wave or smile, just nodded toward a nearby bench under a tree. We sat. He slid me an envelope. Thick. Worn. No words. Just silence. "What's this?" I asked. "Photos. Text screenshots. Recordings," he said. "Everything you need to know about your wife. And about the men she's seeing." I clenched my jaw. "Who is he?" He looked at me, calm, almost pitying. "His name's Travis. You've met him before. You just didn't know who he really was." Travis. The name hit me like a slap. Samantha's old friend from her marketing job. The one she swore was just a work buddy, nothing more. The one she told me not to worry about. I hadn't seen him in over a year, maybe more. I thought he'd moved. He didn't move. He went underground. "Why are you helping me?" I asked. He exhaled. "Because I used to be you. Because I watched my life fall apart when I ignored the signs. And because no one warned me in time." He stood. Whatever you do with this, it's up to you. But don't say you didn't see it coming. Then he walked off. I didn't open the envelope right away. It sat on the passenger seat like a live grenade. But once I got home, after Samantha left to take Lily to her playgroup, I opened it. And everything came crashing down. The photos were time-stamped. Hotel rooms. Parking garages. One of her holding Travis's hand in what looked like a private vacation rental. The texts were worse. Him, you sure he didn't suspect anything after last weekend? Her, not a chance. He's still completely blind. The idiot thinks I married him for love. Him, I told you we'd get him. You keep playing the long game, babe. It's all gonna pay off soon. Her, 2 more months and his lawyer finalizes the asset agreement. Once I'm on the paperwork, it's over. I felt like I couldn't breathe. The air in the room got heavy. My vision blurred. She had been planning this. 4 years. It wasn't just betrayal. It was premeditated. Cold. Calculated. She didn't just cheat on me, she built a life with me just to rip it apart from the inside. And worst of all, she smiled in my face every day while she did it. When Samantha came back that evening, I acted normal. Too normal, maybe. I helped with dinner. Played with Lily. Asked about her day. She smiled at me like nothing had changed. And that smile made me sick. But I had to wait. Had to play my own long game now. Because if she wanted to take everything from me, my business, my house, my daughter, then I needed to be 10 steps ahead of her. That night, after Lily fell asleep, I sat in my office and pulled out our marriage documents. Business agreements. Titles. Deeds. Everything. And sure enough, the latest papers she'd pushed me to sign, just formalities, she'd said, were designed to give her access to my assets. Gradual percentages. Co-signing authority. Emergency clauses I'd never noticed buried in the legal language. If I hadn't been tipped off, I would have lost everything. I called Mark the next morning. Hypothetically, I said, if a spouse was trying to manipulate legal documents to take over a company, what would we need to prove it? Mark was quiet for a beat. Then. You said this was hypothetical, Dan. You sure that's still true? I hesitated. Let's just say I have reason to believe my wife hasn't been honest with me. About anything. Another pause. You need to come in. Today. I spent the next 2 hours laying everything out for him. The envelope. The texts. The photos. Even the napkin. Mark didn't interrupt once. When I was done, he sat back in his chair, rubbing his chin. This is bad, he said finally. But not hopeless. You've got evidence. What you need now is a strategy. And we'll need to be quiet. Careful. Calculated. I want to protect Lily, I said. My voice broke for the first time. That's all I care about. Mark nodded. We'll do everything we can. But you have to be strong, Dan. This is going to get ugly. That night, Samantha sat on the couch next to me, flipping through her phone. She laughed at something she read and showed it to me. And I smiled back. Because she had no idea I was already unraveling her web. No idea that I was building my own trap. But then, just as she turned away, I noticed something on her lock screen. A text notification. It was just a name. Travis. And a single message preview. We may need to speed things up. He's asking too many questions. I froze. She noticed. You okay? She asked. I nodded. Yeah. Just tired. But in my chest, I felt it. It had already begun. She knew I was waking up. And now she was preparing to strike first. The hardest thing I've ever done wasn't building my business from nothing. It wasn't growing up poor or sleeping in my car in the dead of winter while I flipped junk cars to stay alive. The hardest thing I've ever done was sitting across from my wife at dinner, smiling, making small talk, pretending I didn't know she was trying to destroy me. She had no idea I saw the text from Travis. we may need to speed things up. He's asking too many questions. That one message confirmed everything. She knew I was starting to figure things out. And now, it was a race. The next morning, I met Mark at his office before work. I hadn't slept. I was too wired, too afraid that if I closed my eyes for even a second, I'd wake up and everything I'd built would be gone. Mark already had papers spread across his desk. I spoke to a forensic accountant last night, he said. He's discreet. And if Samantha's been moving assets behind your back, he'll find it. I nodded, barely hearing him. My mind kept drifting to Lily. Her little face when she called me Daddy. Her drawings on the fridge. Her giggles when I read her bedtime stories. How could Samantha be doing this and still kiss our daughter goodnight? Mark continued, you also need to move some of your personal funds into a protected trust. Don't make it obvious. Keep it under the radar. What about the business? I asked. We'll create a holding company in your name only. Quietly transfer your voting shares. If she doesn't notice before the process finalizes, we can freeze her out of decision-making without her even knowing. I exhaled slowly. So I'm at war with my own wife. Mark looked me dead in the eyes. You didn't start this war, Dan. But you better make sure you finish it. By the end of the week, I had a private investigator shadowing Samantha. I hated myself for it, but I needed more than screenshots and suspicion. I needed hard, irrefutable evidence, something that could hold up in court, something that would keep her from taking Lily from me if this went nuclear. And it was going to go nuclear. I could feel it. Saturday night, we were invited to a dinner party by one of her friends. I almost said no, I didn't want to be around anyone. But I figured it was smarter to keep pretending. Let her think I was clueless. So I put on the suit, combed my hair, and played the loving husband. Funny thing is, I could see it now. The fake smiles. The small, subtle glances she gave her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. The way she excused herself to take calls outside. Once you see the cracks, you can't unsee them. At the party, I overheard her whispering to someone, her back was to me, but I recognized the voice she used. Soft, almost guilty. Like she was negotiating something. When she turned and saw me watching, she smiled and waved me over. My husband, she said, wrapping her arm around mine like we were newlyweds. This is Travis, I finished. And there he was. Clean-cut, smug, like every fake motivational speaker I'd ever seen on Instagram. The men who'd been sleeping with my wife and planning my downfall for years. Right in front of me, shaking my hand. I wanted to hit him. Right there. In the middle of that stupid dining room. But instead, I smiled. Great to finally meet you, I said. Because this wasn't the time to fight. This was the time to collect more rope. So they could hang themselves with it. Back home, after she fell asleep, I sat in my car in the driveway and listened to a voice memo from the private investigator. She met Travis 3 times this week, he said. 2 locations. One of them was an office space they're leasing downtown. He paid in cash. They're calling it a consulting firm, but it looks like a shell company. My stomach dropped. They've also been meeting with a divorce attorney, the investigator added. Not one you know. Very high-end, very quiet. I have photos. I'll send everything in the morning. They were getting ready to strike. She was planning to take the business, the house, the custody rights, and make it all look like I was the problem. Suddenly her kindness made sense. The smiles. The long hugs. The gentle tones. She was setting up a narrative. Look how calm I am. Look how erratic Dan's become. So when she finally made her move, it would seem like I was the one unraveling. I sat in the car until sunrise. I couldn't go inside. I couldn't look at her without feeling like I was suffocating. Sunday, I spent the day with Lily. Just the 2 of us. I took her to the zoo. We rode the train around the park, shared a giant pretzel, and watched the flamingos fight over a puddle. She looked up at me at one point and said, Mommy said you're going on a big trip soon. Can I come too? My heart stopped. I smiled gently. She said that. Yeah, Lily nodded. She said maybe you'll be too busy to tuck me in next week. I forced a laugh, then kissed the top of her head. I'll always tuck you in, Peanut. Always. But inside, I was screaming. Samantha was already planting the seeds. Getting Lily used to the idea of me being gone. Less involved. Distant. She was getting ready to push me out of my daughter's life before she even filed the paperwork. Monday morning, I finally opened the sealed envelope Mark gave me. It was a contingency document. A financial strategy. A legal firewall. Inside was a preemptive custody petition. Documentation showing my stability, my income, my direct involvement in Lily's life. Photos of us together. School records. Medical history I've handled. Everything we'd need to prove that I was the one who'd always been there. I hadn't even asked for it yet. But Mark knew. He knew where this was heading. I signed it and slid it back into the envelope. Then I called the private investigator. I need audio, I told him. Not just pictures. I need her on tape. I need her saying it. Planning it. Lying about it. There was silence on the line. Then he said, "We can do that." That night, I asked Samantha if she wanted to go out, just us. She seemed surprised. "You sure?" she asked, watching me closely. "Yeah. Things have been tense. I just want a night to reconnect." She agreed. And while she got ready, I walked into her closet and found her purse. Slipped in a tiny recording device. Then one under the driver's seat of her car. Another in her office upstairs. It wasn't paranoia anymore. It was survival. She wanted to take everything. I was going to make sure the judge heard exactly how she planned to do it. When we got to the restaurant, she was glowing. Touching my hand. Complimenting my shirt. Asking about my day like she actually cared. But I knew it was all performance. And now. I had cameras watching the stage. Later that night, when she went to tuck Lily in, I stepped into the garage and called the investigator again. "I planted everything," I said. "She's home now. Start recording." He confirmed the signal was live. And then he said something that sent a chill down my spine. "We're picking up her line right now," he said. "She's calling Travis." Pause. "She's saying she thinks you might be cheating on her." I almost dropped the phone. "She's flipping the script," he continued. "Telling him she needs to speed things up, file first, make you look unstable. She's laughing. Saying how you're too emotional to fight back." I stared through the windshield, the entire night closing in on me like a storm. She was getting ready to destroy me. But I was done waiting. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the garage with the engine off, phone in hand, replaying her voice through the recording. Samantha. My wife. Saying I was too emotional to fight back. That she had to file first to control the narrative. That I'd probably fall apart once she hit me with the custody demands. And then she laughed, casually, like this wasn't about her child's father, her husband of 6 years. Like I was just a pawn she was ready to take off the board. By morning, something inside me had shifted. I wasn't confused anymore. I wasn't shocked. I wasn't even hurt. I was focused. I knew what she wanted. I knew how far she'd go. And now, I was going to flip the script before she could. Because she wasn't just coming for my business, she was coming for my little girl. And that I'd never let happen. That day, I met Mark and the private investigator at a discreet downtown office. No branding on the door. No names on the walls. Just the kind of place people go when they're preparing for war. The investigator, Joel, pulled out a flash drive and pushed it across the table. "This is everything we have so far," he said. Audio from the car, her office, and that restaurant last night. She didn't even turn her phone off during dinner. He gave a humorless smile. "I think she wanted to be caught. She thinks you're weak. Predictable." Mark leaned forward. "We've got enough here to build a solid case for intent. This proves manipulation, premeditation, and custodial instability. With the right judge, it could completely shift custody in your favor. I stared at the flash drive. It held the future of my life, my business, and my daughter's safety. How soon can we move? I asked. Mark didn't hesitate. Now. By Thursday, we'd filed emergency motions. The holding company restructure had gone through. Quietly, legally. Samantha's access to business accounts was restricted. The company's voting control was now fully in my name. Mark had filed an advanced custody notice with family court, supported by my parental records, Joel's documentation, and signed witness statements from Lily's preschool teacher and our pediatrician, people who'd seen me consistently involved as a father. It wasn't just strategy. It was protection. The storm was coming, and we had to build the shelter before it hit. That evening, Samantha was unusually sweet. She brought home takeout from my favorite barbecue place. Picked up my dry cleaning. Poured me a drink without me asking. I watched her closely. Every gesture felt staged, like she was trying to butter me up for something. So, she said, twirling her wine glass. I've been thinking, maybe we should talk to someone. You know, like a counselor. We've both been under a lot of stress lately. I tilted my head. Why now? She shrugged, smiling. I don't know. I just want us to be in a good place. For Lily. For the business. We've worked so hard to get here. Her voice was soft. Sweet. But her eyes. Calculating. She wasn't offering peace. She was setting up a defense, so she could say, I tried. He refused. He was distant. I nodded. Yeah. Maybe that's a good idea. She smiled again. I think she thought she was winning. Friday morning, she left early. Said she had errands. Legal paperwork for the taxes, or something vague like that. 10 minutes after she left, Joel called me. She's on her way to her attorney's office. I've got a tail on her. Just wanted to confirm, are we locking the home financial accounts today? Do it, I said. She's making her move. I'm making mine. By noon, her access to the joint investment account was frozen. Her secondary business card was deactivated. The financial forensics team had begun scanning for any hidden transfers or offshore plays. And the temporary custody motion was submitted to the judge, sealed until official notice was served. Now it was about timing. Because once she realized the walls were closing in, she'd panic. And people like Samantha are dangerous when they panic. At 2 p.m., I got the text. Samantha, can we talk tonight? I think it's time we were honest. There it was. The mask starting to slip. I responded, of course. Let's talk after Lily's asleep. Meanwhile, Mark was preparing the notification documents. Joel's team installed additional security cameras in the house. And I packed a separate overnight bag for Lily, just in case Samantha tried something drastic. By sunset, my world felt like it was balancing on a thread. But I was ready. She came home smiling. Always smiling. She played with Lily, humming softly as she cooked dinner like nothing was wrong. Like we were a happy, suburban family living the dream. At 8:45, Lily was tucked in. I kissed her forehead, brushed her hair from her eyes, and whispered. Daddy's here, Peanut. Always. Then I went downstairs. Samantha was waiting at the kitchen table. 2 glasses of wine poured. She gestured to the seat across from her. Let's talk. She started with compliments. How proud she was of me. How grateful she felt for everything I'd given her. Then she transitioned into concern. I feel like we've grown apart, she said. I think you've been stressed. You're different lately. Distant. And then she said it. I think we need to take a break, Dan. Just some space to clear our heads. For Lily's sake. I nodded slowly, letting her keep going. I've already spoken to a lawyer, she added. We're not doing anything dramatic. Just setting some healthy boundaries. I'd like to stay in the house for now, if that's okay. She smiled, kind, reasonable, full of fake concern. And I let the silence hang before answering. Samantha, I said quietly. I know about Travis. Her expression didn't change right away. She was too good for that. But her fingers tensed on the stem of her wine glass. And I know about the shell company. The recordings. The custody plan. All of it. That was when her face finally broke. Who told you? She asked sharply. I stood. Walked to the counter. Picked up a manila envelope and slid it across the table. Inside, photos. Transcripts. Account activity. Everything you've done, I said. And everything I've done since I found out. She stared down at the envelope, not opening it. Not even blinking. You recorded me. I protected myself, I said. Lily doesn't deserve. Lily deserves me. A stable father. Someone who doesn't use her as leverage to play out their twisted ambition. She stood up fast, knocking over the wine glass. Red spilled across the table like blood. You think you've won, she hissed. You have no idea what you've started. No, I said calmly. But I know how it ends. I walked past her, grabbed my keys, and headed upstairs. I opened Lily's door. She stirred a little, but didn't wake. I whispered to her, like I always did. Everything's okay now. I promise. And for the first time in weeks, I believed it. By the time the court order was served the next morning, Samantha was already on the phone, screaming, bargaining, threatening. But it didn't matter. The narrative was no longer hers to control. I had reclaimed it. I thought once the court order was served, things would finally calm down. That she'd back off. That maybe, just maybe, she'd realize the game was over. I was wrong. Because Samantha doesn't just lose. She reloads. The morning after she got served, she left the house without a word. No screaming, no crying, just silence. It was eerie. She didn't even look at Lily, who was playing on the rug in the living room, completely unaware her mother had just been legally blocked from touching the business or moving money around. I watched Samantha from the upstairs window as she got into her car and drove off. Fast. Purposeful. Joel, the private investigator, texted me 5 minutes later. She's heading to her lawyer's office. We'll stay on her. Mark had already warned me. She's not done, Dan. When people like her lose control, they don't surrender. They retaliate. He was right. By lunchtime, Samantha had filed her own emergency motion, accusing me of mental instability, emotional neglect, and even financial intimidation. Her lawyer called it a defensive action. But it was clear, she wanted to get ahead of the narrative in court, flip it upside down. The same person who secretly schemed to take everything from me now wanted the judge to see me as the abuser. She was fast. But I was faster. That night, I met with Mark again. We sat in his office, documents spread out across the table. I was tired, exhausted, actually. But I couldn't afford to rest. She's shifting to character attacks, Mark said. Trying to paint you as erratic, volatile, emotionally detached. She's hoping the judge will prioritize her version of stability. I let out a bitter laugh. She's the one building fake companies and lying to my kid. But I'm the dangerous one. This is about leverage, he replied. If she can prove you're unstable, she can go after full custody. And once she has Lily, she can use that to negotiate financial settlements. Child support. Even a piece of the company if she frames it as marital income. I stared down at the stack of paper. Court filings. Her statements. Witness declarations from people I barely knew, her co-workers, family friends who probably hadn't seen me in months. She'd been preparing for this move for a long time. She didn't just want to win. She wanted to destroy me. I got home late that night. Lily was already asleep. Her nightlight filled the room with soft blue stars. I watched her chest rise and fall, steady and peaceful. And then I walked into the guest room. Samantha had moved into it that morning. After the court papers. After the silence. She was sitting on the edge of the bed, scrolling through her phone. She didn't look up when I walked in. I saw what you filed, I said. Still no reaction. You really think I'm unstable? She shrugged. It's not about what I think. It's about what I can prove. There it was. No more pretending. Just raw ambition. Ice cold. I loved you, I said quietly. I gave you everything. And you still. She looked up at me then, finally. Her expression was calm. Flat. No, Dan. You built your empire and expected me to play the smiling wife while you ran your kingdom. You thought I'd stay small so you could stay big. That's not true. Isn't it? I shook my head. You planned this from the beginning. You used me. And you used me to feel like a real man, she snapped. Someone to come home to. Someone to polish the image. You needed a trophy. I gave you that. And now I'm cashing out. I stood there, stunned. My heart pounding so hard it felt like my chest would crack open. She smiled. A soft, dangerous smile. This isn't over, Dan. Not by a long shot. The next morning, I got a call from Joel. She met with someone last night, he said. Private home. Outskirts of town. We checked the plates, belongs to someone named Sherry Parks. Ring a bell. It did. Sherry was a former employee of mine. Fired last year for mismanaging customer funds. Samantha had always said I overreacted. That I ruined Sherry's life. Now they were allies. Joel continued, they're building something. Testimonies. I think she's gathering old employees, anyone who had a grudge. She wants to come at you from every angle. She's building a smear campaign, I said. Exactly. By the end of the week, Samantha had filed a revised complaint in court. She was now accusing me of creating a hostile domestic environment, using my wealth and influence to emotionally isolate her. It was a PR bomb, crafted not just for the judge, but for anyone who might read the record. Mark handed me a copy. I skimmed the paragraphs and felt my stomach twist. She was rewriting history. Every fight we'd had, every moment of tension, twisted into abuse. Every business decision, reframed as control. She's laying groundwork for media use, Mark said. She knows your business has public exposure. If this leaks, your reputation could take a hit. That was when I realized, this wasn't just personal anymore. This was tactical warfare. So I did the only thing I could. I fought back. Quietly. Methodically. No drama. No press. We submitted sworn statements from Lily's teachers, proving I was the primary caregiver for drop-offs, pickups, and school activities. Joel gathered surveillance photos and time logs, showing Samantha's meetings with Travis while claiming to be working late. We pulled text messages from her backup cloud, ones she thought were deleted, including her joking to a friend, if Dan gets hit by a bus tomorrow, I'd be rich and free. Kidding, kinda. We even got the audio of her laughing about me being too weak to fight back. All of it was compiled. Clean. Professional. And ready to drop. But I didn't want to use it yet. Because as much as I wanted to win, I didn't want Lily to grow up thinking I burned her mother to the ground. I wanted the truth out. But I wanted her to show her true face first. And then, like fate was on my side. She did. 1 week later, I got a call from Lily's preschool director. Mr. Briggs, I'm so sorry to bother you, but I thought you should know, Samantha came by today. She wasn't on the pickup schedule this week, so we asked her to wait, but she got very upset. What happened? I asked. She tried to leave with Lily. Said there was a mistake. But when our staff insisted she wait for confirmation, she got aggressive. Loud. We had to call campus security. My blood went cold. She was spiraling. I rushed to the school. Lily was okay, thank God, playing quietly in the corner with a teacher. But something had shifted. Samantha was unraveling. Publicly now. And the people watching, the judge, the school staff, the lawyer she was working with, they were seeing it. The image she worked so hard to create was cracking. And I wasn't the one doing it. She was doing it to herself. That night, I tucked Lily in again. Her voice was soft and sleepy. Daddy. Yeah, Peanut. Why is Mommy so mad all the time? I froze. I brushed a piece of hair behind her ear. Sometimes grown-ups have big feelings they don't know what to do with. But that's not your fault, okay? She nodded. Then she whispered, I like being with you better. My heart broke and healed all at once. I kissed her forehead. I like being with you too. Downstairs, Samantha was pacing the kitchen when I came down. She turned sharply when she saw me. You think you're winning, don't you? She snapped. You think this is over? No, I said. I think it's just getting started. She narrowed her eyes. I'm not walking away with nothing, Dan. I deserve something. Everything. I met her stare. Then you should have married someone else. There's something dangerous about a person who realizes they're losing. They don't get quieter. They get louder. And Samantha was getting loud. The more ground she lost in court, the more recklessly she acted. But it wasn't just the legal losses that were pushing her. It was the realization that her entire narrative was slipping through her fingers. She had tried to paint me as unstable, controlling, emotionally distant. But the court didn't buy it. And worse, for her, neither did the people around us. It started with whispers. A few clients called me personally, saying they'd received strange emails about my abusive behavior. Anonymous tips. I knew exactly where they were coming from. One client forwarded me a message that included screenshots of old texts, twisted out of context to make it look like I'd threatened Samantha. Problem is, those screenshots were altered. Badly. And the original texts were still on my phone. Backed up. Dated. Untouched. I forwarded everything to Mark and Joel. They were ready. This is good, Joel said. She's getting sloppy. The more she pushes fake evidence, the easier it is to catch her in the act. But it didn't feel good. It felt like watching someone drown in a pool they jumped into themselves. At home, Samantha was tense. Her face stayed neutral, but the energy around her had changed. Cold. Paranoid. She wasn't sleeping well. She double-locked her phone, snapped at Lily for small things, and started spending more and more time behind closed doors, talking to Travis, I assumed. Though that part of her plan wasn't going well either. Because Joel had eyes on Travis too. And just days earlier, we discovered that Travis had been quietly visiting another woman in a different city. A real estate agent named Melissa. Apparently Samantha wasn't the only woman he was making promises to. Should we tell her? Joel asked me. I didn't answer at first. Then I said, no. Let him do what he does. If she trusted him so much she bet her future on him, let her see who he really is. Karma didn't need help. It just needed time. And time was doing its work. The school officially flagged Samantha's behavior in Lily's file after the incident at preschool. They submitted a neutral report to the family court, noting escalating distress and emotional unpredictability. Mark added it to our custody file. Then Lily's pediatrician submitted a statement, unprompted, documenting that I had attended every medical appointment for the past 4 years. Samantha had attended less than half. One by one, people were stepping forward. Not because I asked. Because the truth was finally visible. And Samantha couldn't spin it fast enough to keep up. Still, she wasn't done. The night before our next court appearance, she made her final move. We were both home, silent, distant. Lily was already asleep. I was in the kitchen rinsing dishes when she came in behind me. I want to settle, she said. I didn't turn around. I'm listening. She exhaled slowly, like she was offering a gift. I'll walk away from the company. You keep the business, the house, everything. I just want shared custody. 50-50. And enough spousal support to stay on my feet. I dried my hands on a towel. Turned to face her. I already offered you that. 2 months ago. She looked away. That was before you went nuclear. I gave a bitter smile. No, Sam. You went nuclear. I just refused to die in the blast. She stepped forward, lowering her voice. I don't want to fight anymore, Dan. We can both walk away with something. Or we can keep tearing each other apart in court. There was no apology. No guilt. Just strategy. Even now, she was trying to sound like the reasonable one. The next morning, we were in court. And for the first time, everything was on the table. Mark presented our full case, clean, factual, undeniable. The judge reviewed transcripts, photos, financial records, and school reports. Then Samantha's attorney submitted her final documents. And to everyone's surprise, including mine, Samantha requested to withdraw the shared custody proposal. She was asking for full custody. Her claim: I was emotionally manipulative, and created an unsafe emotional environment for Lily. There was an audible murmur in the courtroom. Even her own lawyer looked caught off guard. But the judge kept reading. Calm. Focused. Then came Joel's recordings. The text messages. The timeline. The voice of Samantha, laughing about playing the long game. Her saying she'd marry me, bleed me dry, then vanish with the money. The courtroom was silent. She didn't even look up. The judge recessed for 30 minutes. I stepped out into the hallway, heart racing, hands cold. Mark joined me, his jaw tense. She's finished, he said. But don't show it. Not yet. I nodded, though I didn't feel victorious. I felt tired. Hollow. Like I'd spent every ounce of strength just surviving the ambush. Samantha came out 10 minutes later. Her expression had cracked. Not a full breakdown. But something in her eyes had changed. She wasn't calculating anymore. She was cornered. And she knew it. When court resumed, the judge delivered his decision. Primary custody, awarded to me. Samantha would have supervised visitation, contingent on her participation in a 6-month parenting support program and psychological evaluation. All financial accounts remained under my control. The business. Untouchable. She would receive no spousal support, citing evidence of malicious intent and attempted fraud. I didn't move. Didn't smile. Didn't cry. I just exhaled. 6 months of suspicion, fear, lies, threats, and betrayal. And now, finally, it was over. When we left the courthouse, she followed me into the parking lot. I heard her voice behind me. Quiet. Strained. Dan. I turned. She looked different now. Smaller. Like the weight of everything had finally reached her. Was I ever enough for you? She asked. I blinked. What? She swallowed. Back when we got married. Did you really love me? Or was I just part of your image? The question caught me off guard. But I didn't lie. I loved you, I said. I loved you so much I ignored every red flag just to keep believing in us. She nodded slowly. Then said, barely above a whisper, I never thought you'd be the one to outplay me. I didn't respond. Because it wasn't a game anymore. And whatever she thought she lost, she'd never understand what she could have had. That night, Lily curled up in my arms on the couch. She had Northwest idea how close we'd come to losing each other. And I planned to never let her find out. She was my reason. Through every lie, every twist, every betrayal, she was the one thing that never stopped being real. Daddy, she mumbled. Yeah, Peanut. Are we okay now? I kissed her head. We are now. It's a strange thing, winning. After months of fighting, gathering evidence, building a case, watching your life twist and unravel, you expect victory to feel like relief. Like peace. But all I felt was quiet. Not silence. Just quiet. That kind of stillness that settles after a long, brutal storm. When the wreckage is all around you. And the rain has finally stopped. But you still have to decide what comes next. The judge's order was finalized. I had full custody of Lily. Samantha's parental rights weren't taken away, but they were scaled back. Supervised visits twice a month. No overnight stays. No unsupervised phone calls. She was also ordered to attend parenting therapy and undergo a full psychological evaluation before she could petition the court to review custody again. It was the best outcome I could have hoped for. Fair. Measured. Protective of Lily. But it didn't feel like a win. Because none of this should have happened in the first place. A week after the hearing, Samantha moved out. She didn't tell me where she was going. I didn't ask. Joel later told me she had moved into a small 2-bedroom rental apartment across town, and Travis was gone. Apparently, when the court documents became public, Travis ghosted her. No calls. No texts. His so-called consulting firm disappeared overnight. Just like that, he vanished from her life. No goodbye. No warning. But that's who he was all along. A parasite. Feeding off the next person desperate enough to believe in him. I guess when Samantha stopped being useful to him, he moved on. Ironically, she never saw that betrayal coming. The one betrayal she didn't plan. The house was quieter now. Lily and I fell into a rhythm. Breakfast together every morning, preschool drop-offs, bedtime stories. For the first time in years, I wasn't rushing to keep up with a life I didn't trust. I was living it. Still, there were scars. Lily would ask about her mom sometimes. Carefully. Hesitantly. Will mommy be at my birthday? Or, can I tell her about my new picture book? I never said anything bad about Samantha. Even after everything. I just told Lily, you can always love your mom. And she'll always love you, even if she's not here all the time. Some days, I wondered if I was lying. But other days, I saw a flicker of something in Samantha during the supervised visits. Guilt, maybe. Regret. Or maybe just loss. 3 months later, I got a letter. A handwritten envelope. No return address. It was from her. I hesitated before opening it. Part of me wanted to toss it in the trash. But I didn't. It read, Dan. I know I don't deserve your time, and I'm not writing to ask for forgiveness. I just wanted to say, I broke something that I didn't fully understand until it was gone. And I wish I'd seen it sooner. I thought power would make me feel safe. I thought control would fix the parts of me that felt small. But all it did was make me lose the only real thing I ever had. I miss Lily every single day. And sometimes, I even miss you. If there's ever a way to earn a little piece of your trust back, even if it's just for her, I'd be grateful. Take care of her. Of yourself. Samantha. I stared at that letter for a long time. Was it sincere? Maybe. Too late. Definitely. But it did something to me. It reminded me that the person I married wasn't always the woman who tried to take me down. People change. Sometimes for the better. Sometimes for the worse. And sometimes, they just lose themselves somewhere along the way. 6 months passed. Then a full year. Lily was thriving. Happier. More confident. Her teacher said she was becoming a little leader. Samantha completed her therapy. Attended every supervised visit. Slowly, carefully, she began rebuilding a relationship with Lily. We never talked much. Our communication stayed formal. Dry. Usually through attorneys or the visitation supervisor. But one day, after a visit, Lily said something I didn't expect. Mommy said she's proud of you. I looked up. She said that. Lily nodded. She said you never gave up. That's good, right? I smiled, even though my heart felt heavy. Yeah, Peanut. That's really good. Eventually, I sat down with Mark and asked a question I never thought I would. What would it look like if I gave her a second chance? Mark blinked. You mean? No. Not us. Not like that. I mean, as a co-parent. Gradually. He leaned back in his chair. Are you sure? After everything? I'm not sure about anything, I admitted. But I know Lily deserves peace. And if Samantha's really trying, I want to give her room to do better. Mark nodded slowly. It's a risk. But if you manage it right, it could be worth it, for Lily. So, over the next few months, we made adjustments. Supervised visits became longer. Then unsupervised. Then overnights, once every other weekend. There were rules. Boundaries. Written agreements. But they worked. Samantha never crossed a line again. She showed up. She parented. She took accountability, even when it was uncomfortable. And I let her try. Not for her. Not for me. For our daughter. Now, as I sit here recording this story, telling you the truth I never thought I'd speak out loud, I want you to know one thing. This isn't a story about revenge. It's not even a story about betrayal, not really. It's a story about truth. About what happens when the person you trust most shows you who they really are. About what you do next, when you have the power to destroy them back, or rebuild something different. And about the quiet strength it takes to choose healing over hate. Lily turns 6 next month. She wants a space-themed birthday party. Stars and planets and rockets. Samantha and I are planning it together. We still don't talk about the past. But in the way she watches me now, in the way she thanks me after every visit, I think she understands. She knows she almost lost everything. And that somehow, I gave it back. Not out of weakness. But out of love. For my daughter. For myself. And for the life I fought to protect.